Thank you, Miles, and welcome everyone. I am Matt Pillar, Chief Editor at Bioprocess Online, host of the Business of Biotech podcast, and your host for today's Bioprocess Online live event. We're going to be discussing surge manufacturing today. I'm thrilled that you're here to join us, and I want you to imagine this. You're a young consultant doing some work for Moderna in 2018. Do a couple of years of consulting work there. In 2020, spring of 2020, you join Moderna full-time as a process engineer. And a year later, you're on the team that's tasked with producing 1 billion doses of a new mRNA vaccine in a really, really, really big hurry. That's exactly what happened to Kayla Hannon. She was on the front lines of it all, playing an active role in the advent of a surge manufacturing strategy that Moderna liked so much that it vowed another 3 billion doses in 2022. Kayla now espouses the concept of surge manufacturing as manager of process engineering at TFF Pharmaceuticals, where her influence goes even further on both TFF's internal pipeline of dry powder formulations, which includes monoclonal antibodies, by the way, as well as reaching a veritable who's who of bio customers and CDMOs, big and small, who are using TFF's proprietary thin film freezing technology in a variety of biologic and vaccine applications. For his part, Dr. Zoltan Kiss is a lecturer at the University of Sheffield, and as a biotechnologist and bioprocess engineer, he's a fast-rising leader in RNA vaccine and therapeutic production optimization. He's currently leading the Wellcome Leap R3 RNA Readiness and Response Project. That project is aimed at building a global network of distributed, multi-product RNA-based manufacturing capabilities built on digital RNA vaccine and therapeutic manufacturing platforms for access to diverse biologics and sustainable pandemic response. Case and his project team are tasked with deploying continuous production processes that will allow rapid, high-volume production of high-quality, low-cost vaccines and therapeutics in a disease-agnostic manner. That's really big and important work, and just a note, it was briefly interrupted about a week ago, by the way, when Zoltan became a first-time dad to a healthy baby boy, so be sure to congratulate him on that milestone in the comments. Kayla and Zoltan bring two really unique perspectives to this discussion and the Biopharma Resilience mission, the academic perspective, the industry perspective, and I'm excited for them to share those perspectives with you today. Kayla and Zoltan, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Matt. Glad to be here as well.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
We're so glad you are. I want to remind our listeners before we get started here to please jump in and ask questions using that chat box. We'll be addressing questions as we go. I also want to take a minute to thank Cytiva. I want to acknowledge the fact that Cytiva has been an incredible supporter of our Bioprocess Online programming, and they help us make learning opportunities like this available to you at no cost. So thank you, Cytiva. Now let's jump into it. Kayla, I want to start with you because we give our audience an opportunity at the registration stage to ask a question. What do you want to learn from the panelists on today's event? And I realized as I was reviewing the questions that came in at the registration stage that we may have gotten a little bit ahead of our skis with the whole surge manufacturing sort of nomenclature. We called this, come to this event and learn about surge manufacturing. And we got a lot of questions from a lot of smart people saying, we want to learn what surge manufacturing is. So, we like to be on the bleeding edge, and I think we are. I think we're on the early edge of this. And I'll say, just for our audience's reference, as a matter of fact, I think it's a piece of content that's available as a resource on today's show. Kayla wrote a piece for us on surge manufacturing for Bioprocess Online not too long ago. I think it was probably mid to late last year. So I'm going to start with you, Kayla, and we're going to just open up with a definition as best you can, level set on what surge manufacturing means. I know it's a big question.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So surge manufacturing is kind of like this rapid scale up or increase in order to either drug stockpile or meet a high demand extremely quickly, right? So not your typical scale, step-by-step, meeting a demand that you think is going to be maintained, right? It's this high stockpile that you don't know how long it might even be in demand for, but it's needed right away or as quickly as possible. And at a large demand amount, like millions.
Yeah. Why and when is surge? So, I mean, the obvious answer is COVID, right?
Yeah.
Before I even ask the question, the obvious answer, we just experienced that, right? But
Yeah.
give us some other scenarios. When and why is surge manufacturing necessary?
So yeah, the pandemic response was obviously needed a novel vaccine immediately, but on other scales of that, even during the pandemic time, you could look at, testing kits for testing if you had COVID, PPE for hospitals, right? We were down and gowning, respirators, masks, et cetera. And all of that has a manufacturing demand to make that be met. And then even you can step it back, right? Like bill of materials that are needed to go into the vaccine or production of masks or anything else. Everything had this high surge demand that it needed as soon as possible to be able to keep up. That wasn't a typical number that they were predicted for.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you, can you like pause it? I know it's kind of forward looking and, but can you posit circumstances where surge manufacturing might be necessary, or the principles of surge manufacturing might be necessary outside of, this classic once in a century pandemic we just experienced?
I feel like it's tough to predict what could be coming forward. I'd be interested, obviously, when Sultan speaks to of what they're doing for, he was talking about RNA and getting readiness. But I think there's definitely diseases that could come up that we don't know about that we need to, increase production quickly for.
Yeah. We're going to spend some time in a little bit here drilling down on what constitutes a surge manufacturing environment. So I don't want you to drill down too deep on it right now, but I'd like to just ask you for an illustration of maybe some prerequisites to enabling a surge manufacturing environment.
Yeah, definitely. I think, we, in my article, I talk a lot about like modular design, but having a site or a process that you're able to reconfigure quickly or move around and scale up quickly is definitely something that's going to help enable surge manufacturing. And looking at things like single-use technology, how can you, turn over things quicker and rapid mobilization of scale up. So flexible clean rooms, having GMP utilities kind of ready, and each configuration will allow you to move equipment in and out or stage something to be able to increase a certain, manufacturing or drug quickly as possible.